To all those ladies out there all over the world who participated and are continuing to participate in our Sukkot packages, I just want you to know what a difference you've made. How many ladies received the packages and were so delighted and happy. We're going to show you a little clip of some of these women who agreed to have themselves filmed in order to thank you. Packages came in, donations for packages came in from Spain, from Australia, from Texas, from London, from all over the world, from Florida, from Denver, from Baltimore, from New York, from New Jersey, from everywhere. And they're continuing to call. People are continuing to call and email towards that $36 Sukkot package that is being given out to women who could really, really use a boost for the Chagim. So we want to thank you. For those who still want to donate, you can continue to donate up until even Chol HaMoed, since we're giving out the packages throughout the Yamim Tovim, before Sukkot, and even during Chol HaMoed, because so many people called. Hashem yishmor otchem v'yimaleh et kol mishalot libchem letova u'levracha. You have no clue how many smiles you put on people's faces. If you still haven't had an opportunity to donate a package, you could still do so. You can log on to ohelsara.com, click the donate button, and you'll be prompted as to what to do. Or call our offices at 347-430-5700. Thank you so much.
Marcus Tova, thank you so much for the gift. That was very thoughtful of you. It's going to increase my Simcha, and by you increasing my Simcha, you should also be blessed with lots of Simcha, lots of nachas from your family, and all should be well for you this year. It should be sweet and healthy.
Hi, this is Chaya Smaya. Thank you so much from Denver. You gave this to me, and I didn't even know. Thank you so much. It's a very nice package with some code. I hope I'm probably going to enjoy it very much. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to receive this package. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the package. God bless you. It's make me happy. Hashem think about me and people think about me. Thank you very much. And this is for L'chaim.
I was very emotional. I say, we can't play slow. We have a I felt it. I felt it. There's no word. It's priceless.
Bruchot habaot, ladies. Thank you so much for coming tonight on this very, very auspicious night. Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. We're just 2 days away from the great day, Yom Kippurim, from the awesome day. And I know that a lot of you are so busy with preparations at home and getting ready for Chag HaSukkot, and yet you managed to come out here tonight, so I want to thank you. First of all, I just want to say that this shiur was sponsored by someone in New Jersey, a very, very special lady, Leilui Nishmat, two of her family members, Liora Bat Sarah, Alea Shalom, and Yonatan Yoshua Meir Ben Shelomoh, Alav Shalom. She sponsored the food, she sponsored part of the shiur, she sponsored some of the packages that we're giving out, B'ezrat Hashem. So we want to thank her very much. She knows who she is. She wanted to remain anonymous. We thank you very, very, very much for sponsoring the shiur. That's the kind of people that we need out there. That's why you guys got sushi tonight. Okay, anyway. The great Posek Darama, Alav Shalom, who was the Ashkenazic Mefaresh, commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, says that we have a minhag of reading Megillat Kohelet on the Shabbat of Chol HaMoed Sukkot, because these are days of happiness, just as it says in Kohelet, Ve'asimcha, mazu osa, joy, what does it accomplish? And the holy Avudraham, Alav Shalom, explains that every Sukkot, Bnei Israel gathered in front of Shlomo HaMelech on Sukkot, and at this gathering, Shlomo HaMelech would read Kohelet to them. For this reason, we continue the tradition of Shlomo HaMelech. And therefore, in honor of the upcoming Chag of Sukkot, we're going to explore another reason why we read Kohelet on Sukkot. The Gemara of Shabbat says, Rav Yehuda ben Rav Shemuel, alav Shalom, said, in the name of Rav, that the Chachamim wanted to take Megillat Kohelet and they wanted to hide it. They wanted to conceal it so that no one should ever read it. Why? Because when they read Megillat Kohelet, they saw that in it, it had a lot of contradictory psukim. So if that's the case, why didn't they hide it, Bemet? Why didn't they? Chachamim answer that it's because Megillat Kohelet begins and ends with words of Torah. In the beginning of the Megillah it says, Ma yitron le'adam bechol amalo sheya'amol tachat hashemesh, which means, what profit does man have for all his labor which he toils under the sun? What do you get for the fact that every day you work so hard under this great sun? That's from Torah. And the Megillah ends with the words of Torah. How does the Megillah of Kohelet end? Sof davar hakol nishma. The sum of the matter is, and when you consider everything, et ha'elokim yir'ah vet mitzvotav shemor, you have to fear God and you have to keep His commandments. Ki zeh kol ha'adam, for that's man's entire obligation. So we're now at the point where we're saying that Megillat Kohelet begins and ends with words of Torah. Great, this we just heard. But what are the examples of the contradictions that the rabbis claimed are found in Kohelet? That for those contradictions they wanted to hide Megillat Kohelet. What are the contradictions? There's a lot of them. But I want to give you just one example of a contradiction in Megillat Kohelet, that it says like this. Tov ka'as mischok. Anger is better than laughter. That's one pasuk. But earlier in the Megillah, Shlomo HaMelech says the opposite. Hafuch. He says, of laughter, if we want to talk about laughter, it's praiseworthy. Shevach. But one second, that's a contradiction. We just said tov ka'as mischok. Now you're saying laughter is the best medicine, so to speak. It's a contradiction. So Megillat Kohelet is filled with contradictions that until today, the Rabbanim are trying to make sense of all the psukim that seem to negate and oppose each other. And we know that Shlomo HaMelech was a tzaddik, and he was the wisest of all men. So anything that he wrote, even if it seems like a contradiction to us, it has a hidden meaning. So the Gemara explains that in actuality, there are no contradictions. They say, anger is indeed better than laughter. Why? How's it better than laughter? Because it's better for a tzaddik to experience HaKadosh Baruch Hu's anger in this world than the laughter that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will allow the Rasha'im to enjoy in this world. Why? Because the Rasha is laughing now. In this world he's laughing, but he doesn't know what's waiting for him after 120 years. So we see that the Gemara tries to find a satisfactory response to the contradictions of the psukim that are found in Kohelet. But the more we think about it, the more we need to explain the challenge that Shlomo HaMelech presented us with. What challenge? That it's true that ultimately all these seemingly contradicting psukim in Kohelet can be resolved if we just put our minds to it. We just have to think. But the question is, why did Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, write Megillat Kohelet in such a way that we have to resolve the contradictions? Why not just write it pashut, clearly, so it shouldn't even appear like a contradiction, because contradictions create confusion. They create doubt. They create sfekot. Why not just write clear? Ladies, the answer is the following. Chachamim have a certain wisdom where they are able to reconcile what appears to be a contradiction. They can do it. Which contradictions? The contradictions of the way the world looks versus our emunah in the way Hashem runs the world. What does that mean? Throughout the generations, Chachamim discussed the fact that nature, the teva, gives the non-believers the mistaken ability to convince themselves that the world runs by itself. This is what it says in Sefer Devarim. It says, Ufen tis'a enecha hashamayma vera'ita et hashemesh ve'et hayareach ve'et hakochavim. Be careful that you shouldn't raise your eyes to the heavens and you're going to see the sun and the moon and the stars. Kol tzeva hashamayim. You're going to see the entire legions of the heavens. V'nidachta. And you're going to be drawn away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ishtachavita lahem v'avadetem. You're going to bow down to nature and you're going to worship nature. You're going to forget there's Hashem. And Rashi HaKadosh Alav HaShalom explains this pasuk to mean that we could look at nature and make the mistake of turning nature into the force that runs this world. Mother Nature runs the world. Nature itself could appear to contradict HaKadosh Baruch Hu's continuous force of running the world. Now, one of the basic fundamental beliefs in Judaism is the concept of sachar va'onesh, reward and punishment. That's what we read in Sefer Devarim. It says, Re'eh natati lefanecha hayom et ha'chaim ve'et hatov. I put before you today life and good, ve'et hamavet ve'et hara, and death and evil. Uvacharta b'chaim leman tichya ata uzarecha. And you shall choose life so that you and your descendants will live. Now we see this concept in the Ani Mamins that we recite every day, where we say, Ani Ma'amin be'emunah shlema. I believe with complete faith, Sha'borei barach shemo gomel tov leshomrei mitzvotav, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu rewards those who observe His commandments. With good He gives them. Uma'anish le'ovrei mitzvotav, and He punishes those who violate His commandments. But ladies, this is one of the contradictions that we're referring to. Because if it's true that Hashem gives a reward to the tzaddikim, the people that keep His mitzvot, and He punishes those who are ovrei mitzvot, how can we see that the Risha'im seem to be successful, yet the tzaddikim seem to suffer? That's a contradiction. Even Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu to make His ways known to him. He says, please, hareni nait kvodecha, I want to know what's going on here. He wanted Hashem to answer that eternal question of why we see that righteous people suffer while the Rashaim succeed, they have atzlacha. It's a contradiction. So tonight we're going to address the question of why did God create a world that seems full of contradictions, where more things are hidden than they are clear to us. A world in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children are oppressed and our enemies appear to rule the world. A world that seems to contradict the Torah. Why is this world full of contradictions? The answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu deliberately created a world where nature, the teva, appears to hide His light and His truth. Why did Hashem do this? You know why? So that human beings should have the bechira chofshit, the free will, and the choice to decide if they truly want to see Hashem, who is hidden in everything that is this world. It's your choice to see Him or not. And if we manage to recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to serve Him in this world of hiddenness, Be'olam Nistar, if we manage to see His Hashgacha despite the contradictions, we get a sachar for that. We get rewarded for that. But those who deny His existence and they live only in this world the way the world appears to them, those people will unfortunately be punished. Our world is called Olam. The word Olam comes from the word Ha'elem, which means hidden. It's Nistar. But why did Hashem set it up that way? Because if HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence was clearly revealed to you, you would have no choice but to believe in Him and to affirm His existence. And you know what that would do? If you wouldn't have a choice, it would remove from you the reward for choosing to believe in Hashem. It takes away your sachar for the bechira that you have to choose to see Him. You see, Hashem created human beings with the intelligence to understand the operation of this world. We're not stupid. He created us with the ability to resolve the apparent contradictions of this world. And our job is to discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to believe in Him, and to reach the ultimate truth. Lagia l'Hasham, lagia la'emet. What truth is that? Leze emet. That it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu who's running the world, and He's running it according to His ratzon, according to His will. So our essential purpose in this world is to firmly believe that even that which appears to contradict HaKadosh Baruch Hu's control over this world is only because Hashem deliberately hides things from us. It just appears that way. Zarak nira kacha. And as we develop and we strengthen our emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's when you're going to be able to resolve what appears to be the contradictions of this world. If there's no emunah, you're not going to be able to resolve anything. And once you resolve those contradictions, guess what happens? That strengthens your emunah, and it strengthens your bitachon even more. Even more. The Khatam Sofer Alav Shalom taught that our job is to try to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu's truth. And even if we have thousands of questions, we should remain steadfast in our belief, and we have to realize that we need to work even harder to understand the ultimate truth of Hashem's control over this world. Which means, if you don't understand Him now, you got to work harder. Maybe tomorrow you'll understand Him better. What we have to understand and accept is that human beings are not always capable of resolving the apparent contradictions of the world all by themselves. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew this from the start. So do you know what He did? He graciously gave us the Torah HaKadosha. By being involved in the study of Torah, which is what you're doing now, we become enlightened and we begin to understand things a little bit more clearly. And perhaps we start to resolve in our minds what seemed like a contradiction. So let's take a look. I'm going to teach you now a very deep chidush. Let's take a look at the first two words of the Torah. Bereshit, bara. In the beginning of God's creation. Rashi HaKadosh explains that the world was created because of the Torah and Am Yisrael, who is called Reshit. We are like HaKadosh Baruch Hu's firstborn. We're the Bechor. So first and foremost, there's a connection between the creation of Torah, which HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to create the world, and Am Yisrael. There's a connection between those two. And the message that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is sending us from the very beginning, from Bereshit bara, is with the Torah, you will be able to explain the contradictions of the world. And what does the next pasuk say? V'ha'aretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. And the earth was astonishingly empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the water. Ladies, do you know what tohu vavohu is? Chachamim say that tohu vavohu is the bewilderment and the void of this world, and all the stirot, all the contradictions, and all the questions that surround us. That's tohu vavohu. Questions like, how could bad people have hatzlacha and good people suffer? That's tohu vavohu. But notice the end of that pasuk. Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. And the Spirit of God was hovering upon the face of the water. What does that mean? It means that all the questions that we have and all the contradictions, they only seem that way to the human eyes. We feel the confusion, which is the tohu vavohu. We feel that. And that confusion leads to darkness. V'choshech al pnei tehom. We feel we're in the dark. But in reality, Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. In reality, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Spirit that covers the world, and He runs it, and He's controlling it to its minutest detail. It just seems like choshech to you, but who's behind it all? Ve'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. He's everywhere. And if you want to discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu and resolve the confusing contradictions of this world, you're going to have to continue to delve into the magnificent and wondrous world of Torah. Because encoded within the Torah are all the answers to life's questions. You just have to keep learning. You know, the Ari HaKadosh Alav Shalom says that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created light, or the Torah uses the word or 5 times. And the Midrash says that these 5 times that the word or is mentioned actually corresponds to the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Which means if you're going to continue to delve into the study of Torah, and if you're going to continue to fill your neshama with the words of truth that are written in the Torah, like you do when you come to these shiurim, you know what's going to happen? It's going to dispel the darkness, the choshech, of all the questions that surround you, that pervade this world. Which world? Your world. Our world. That's why the Torah says, Vayikra Elokim la'or yom, ve'lachoshech kara laila. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. You know what that teaches us? It teaches us that the contradictions in this world, they only appear that way. It's just an illusion, because in reality, what is it? Vayhi erev, vayhi boker, yom echad. It's really all one day. Meaning, what appears to be the questions of day and night, of Yom Valayla, of darkness and light, it's all just echad. It's just that you see darkness as its own entity. You just see the Vayehi Erev. When in reality, darkness is just the absence of light. There's no creation as Choshech. Choshech is just the absence of light. Hashem didn't create Choshech. He created Or. And once there was Or, the darkness was dispelled. The Torah is that Or. And just as the purpose of physical light is to enable you to dispel the darkness, the same is true with the study of Torah. It enables you to dispel the darkness that creates confusion in your life. But ladies, why is it that delving into the Torah can resolve the contradictions of the world and your life? How is it that by studying Torah, bemet, you can resolve all the questions and contradictions? Their answer is what I told you earlier. Hashem looked into the Torah and then He created the world. And He also created the world, like we said, with all its contradictions. So since the Torah is the source, the shoresh of the entire Bria, of the entire creation, therefore it must be that the Torah which Hashem used to create the world must contain the solution to all the contradictions in this world. We just have to delve into the Torah to find the answers that are hidden in the Torah. The more you study, the more you're going to be able to resolve the contradictions and the questions in your life. So now we can try and understand why Shlomo HaMelech chose to write Megillat Kohelet in such a contradictory style, instead of just spelling it out for you very clearly and giving you all the solutions to life's problems. Because based on what we learned, it could very well be that Shlomo did this on purpose in order to teach us that the world is indeed full of contradictions. That's undeniable. Shlomo HaMelech himself admits and writes it repeatedly in Megillat Kohelet. He says, V'ra'iti ani. I myself saw, meaning as if to say, I too had questions. I too saw contradictions in life, and I worked hard to resolve them. And the same way I had to resolve them, so too with you. You will have to resolve for yourselves what appears to be the contradictions of the life and the world that you live in. Shlomo HaMelech was talking to the person who's thinking, how can I resolve these great questions of life? How am I going to do this? And what does he say to that person? He begins and he ends Kohelet with the words of Torah. So that you should understand that everything is in the Torah that HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to create this world. Shlomo HaMelech was telling us that this world is so full of contradictions that a person can get lost in all that tohu vavohu and all that confusion. But when you work hard to learn Torah, and Torah exists on a higher sphere, when you access the heavenly worlds through your learning, you can learn to resolve these questions of life, and you'll realize that your efforts in this world are indeed rewarding. The hishtadluyot that you make, you're going to get sachar for that. And then Shlomo HaMelech ends Kohelet with these words: Sof davar hakol nishma, et ha'elokim yir'ah ve'et mitzvotav shemor, ki ze kol ha'adam. He says, bottom line, when everything has been considered, you thought about everything, you still have to have Yirat Shamayim. And you have to keep HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvot. Ki ze kol ha'adam, because that's man's entire obligation. Sof davar, in the end, after you've delved into the Torah, hakol nishma, and you came to realize that what appeared to be contradictions in your life, or the contradictions of how the world operates, hakol nishma, after you read everything and studied everything, you realize it's just an illusion. It's just an illusion. And our true purpose of being in this world is to uncover, legalot, what is hidden. to expose the hidden light of Hashem and to serve Him by doing the mitzvot. That's kizeh kol adam. That's what you're here to do. And what Shlomo HaMelech basically is saying is, Sof davar kol yishma, after you learned and everything, and you still have questions, but at the end of the day, even with all your questions and all the contradictions, Et ha'elokim yo'ah v'mitzvotav shmo, kizeh kol adam. You're still obligated to serve Him. Now, we began the shiur by saying that the Chachamim wanted to hide Megillat Kohelet because they saw all these contradictory statements in it, and we asked, why didn't they hide it be'emet? We said because the Megillah begins and ends with the words of Torah. Ladies, from this we could understand the great wisdom of Shlomo HaMelech. He dafka filled Megillat Kohelet with all these apparent contradictions so that we should realize that our purpose in life is to look into the Torah, to study it, and work hard to resolve the conflicts of our life. It begins with Torah and is going to end with Torah. And of course, we all have to understand, he says that there are certain questions that will only be resolved after Mashiach comes, or after 120 years, because that's the essence of being in the Galut. We live in a world of tohu vavohu, v'choshech al panei tehom. This is this galut. We live in a very confusing and dark world, and the time hasn't yet come for many of our questions to be answered. Therefore, much of the depths of Torah still have to be revealed. That's why you're all sitting here still. It's because there's so much more to learn. There's so much more yet that you have to discover about Hashem, about His world, about Torah. But when we're going to ultimately be redeemed, and the galut that we're in is going to come to an end, we'll then understand all the difficulties, all the problems, all the tzarot that were at the root of this galut. And then the following pasuk of Tehillim is going to come true, it's going to come to life. Az yemale schok pinu uleshonenu rina. Then our mouth is going to be filled with laughter, and our tongue is going to be glad with song. Because there's no greater joy like the joy that's felt when all of your doubts and all of the confusion is resolved. No greater joy than this. So why did Shlomo HaMelech be'emet choose to read Megillat Kohelet dafka on Sukkot? Why not any other Chag? The Chag of Sukkot is called Zman Simchatenu, our joyous time. Now, why is Sukkot more joyous than Pesach, which is when we were redeemed from Mitzrayim? Why is Sukkot more joyous than Shavuot, which is when we celebrate the giving of the Torah on Har Sinai? You know why? On Sukkot, we leave our homes for 7 days in order to live in a temporary dwelling. And the Al-Sheikh HaKadosh Alav HaShalom teaches us that these 7 days of being in the Sukkah is like the 70 years of a person's life. You hear this? He says every day of the 7 days is like 10 years of your life. And when you enter that Sukkah, on the first day, you should know, oh, that's already 10 years of my life. Second day, oh, that's 20 years of my life. Third day, I had 30 years. And he says, entering the Sukkah is supposed to remind you that a person's life is just as temporary as the Sukkah is. And he says, and as you consider this deep thought, and as you ponder the idea that our existence in this world is just temporary, then it becomes the root of the answer to all of our questions about this world. In particular, the question of why the Rashaim succeed. Now, what is the kesher? What does that mean? You see, this world is only temporary. It's only a pusdor leolam haba. It is only a hallway that leads to the next world. That's all it is. It's like if you read the Sefer Gesher HaChaim, which describes the entire journey of the neshama from the time that it's in the heavens and its journey down to earth, the womb. The Sefer Gesher HaChaim tells us the womb is also a temporary world for the baby. The baby is not in the womb forever. But when the baby is in that womb, he thinks that's the only life he has. And only when he's born, he realizes, oh wow, what a world! I thought this was the world. Look at this world. Shem says, that's Olam Hazeh ve'Olam Haba. He says, imagine, this whole world is like the womb. You think this is it? Hashem says, imagine the baby who's in that dark womb, and he thinks that's it. But then he comes out of the womb, and he sees light, and he sees people, and there's drinking, and music, and laughter, and the sun is shining, and the flowers are growing. Right? It's a beautiful... The difference between the womb and outside the womb is an amazing thing, no? Can you compare? Can anybody compare life outside the womb to life in the womb? Nobody could. Shem says, that's the difference between Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Olam Hazeh is the womb. And if you think that this world is great, this is the womb. That's Choshech al Pnei Tehom. Wait till you get to Olam Haba. So Chachamim say, this world is meant to be used, just a preparation for Olam Haba. But what did we learn at the beginning of the shiur? We learned that Hashem repays the Risha'im for whatever good that they may have done while they are still in this world. If a Rasha did something good, he gets paid here, in this world, in the womb. Meaning that the reward that the Risha'im receive for the few times that they actually did something good in their life, that sachar is given to them in this world. That's why you see that they have good. That's why you think they have good. But that Rasha is not going to be able to partake of all the good that Olam Haba has to offer. Meaning, what happens to the Rasha in Olam Haba is something you don't see. You don't see that. What do you see? You only see the reward that he's getting here in this world. That's all you see. Aval ma mechake lo in Olam Haba. You know what's waiting for him? If he even gets to Olam Haba. On the other hand, when it comes to tzaddikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is very strict with them in this world, so that they should be completely tehorim and kadoshim, purified, so that when they arrive in Olam Haba, to the palace, to the ultimate party, that experience is going to be completely sublime. But what do you see? You see the tzaddik receiving his onesh in this world. That's what you see. But you don't see all the good that he's going to experience in Olam Haba. So your eyes just sees tzaddik v'ra lo, rasha v'tov lo. You don't understand what's going on over here. So Sukkot, ladies, is called Zman Simchatenu, because the lesson of Sukkot is that this world is only temporary. What you see is not real. It's just temporary. And what Sukkot is meant to teach us is that we're given an opportunity to have some pleasure in this world, but that pleasure is just temporary. And that's supposed to make you appreciate the idea that any suffering that you experience here in this world, in the sukkah of this world, that suffering is only to purify you, make you tehora v'kdosha, like the tzaddikim. So you see that you're going through a lot, and all this is done so that when you enter Olam Haba, which is the permanent world, you're going to be worthy of the greatest of pleasures. If you could just understand that this world isn't it, you'll be set to go. I'm going to end with one thought and then I'm going to take questions. Rav Shelomoh Wolbe, alav shalom, taught that on Rosh Hashanah we blow the shofar, right? We blew the shofar, and you're going to hear it again on Yom Kippurim. And one aspect of the shofar is that it has the ability to break down walls. No matter what those walls are, it just breaks you. As a matter of fact, when Yehoshua ben Nun, alav shalom, sounded the shofar during his conquest of Yericho, the walls of Yericho fell down because of the strength of the shofar. We see the strength of the shofar. It has the ability to break walls. Now, in a metaphysical sense, we do the same thing on Rosh Hashanah. Every time we make a mistake, it's as if we're adding another brick to the wall that we're building between ourselves and the Ribono Shel Olam. Like a mechitza. Every time we do an avera, we put another brick, and another brick, and another brick, and then eventually we build a wall between who? That separates us. It puts a division between us and who? The Ribono Shel Olam. And that's why we often find it very difficult to connect to Hashem, to relate to Hashem, to understand Hashem. We think we don't understand Him because of Him. We don't understand Him because we're busy doing averot and building bricks and walls. The more walls that separate us from Hashem, the too many mechitzot between us and the Ribono Shel Olam, how are you going to understand? How are you going to see anything? Can you see what's on the other side of the wall? When walls are put up, it's very hard to see what takes place on the other side. When walls come up, people become defensive and skeptical. They doubt. When walls are created, it's a sign of distance. I don't want you here. It's a sign of detachment. The more distance, the more it will be hard for you to understand. The more distance, the more contradictions are going to follow. But, says Rav Wolbe, when we blow the shofar, all those walls fall down. Vepitom, we find ourselves face to face with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no mechitzot. That's the experience of the Yamim HaNoraim. You come face to face with the Ribono Shel Olam. After Yom Kippurim, however, if you did the right tshuva, if you've been inspired and your neshama feels the experience of some spiritual elevation, after such a high, lofty experience, you don't want to be distracted by the world around you that entices you to abandon Hashem or your closeness to Him. You don't want that to happen. So what do we do after Yom Kippur? Listen to this, ladies. After Yom Kippur, we start to build walls. What walls? I just told you it's not good to put up walls. But after Yom Kippur, we start building walls, the walls of the Sukkah, right? Kulam matchilim achei Yom Kippur, usually, they build walls of the Sukkah. But here's what those walls mean. I just told you before, it's not good to put up walls. But that's the first thing that we do after Yom Kippur. We start putting up walls. But these walls are different. The difference between the walls we had up before and the walls now is that these walls are the ones we put up to make a mechitza between us and the rest of the world. Evantem? Before we were doing averot and building walls that separated us from Hashem. Now we're putting us walls to stay with Hashem and separate us from the rest of the world. Those walls are the tzel, are the shade of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we experience during these 7 days. And guess who comes to be with us around these walls? The Ushpizin, they're our guests. And those walls embrace us, they hug us, and they keep us protected from the outside influences that are coming to deter us from the tshuva that we just did during the Yamim HaNoraim. The walls of the Sukkah keep us connected. They have the power to keep us close to the Ribono Shel Olam for the entire year to come if you spend a lot of time in the Sukkah. Don't rush. There are women, they just want to serve and leave. They say, anyway, we don't have the obligation to sit in the Sukkah, so I'm just going to serve and I'll sit inside and eat. No. Who would give up the chance to be, first of all, with the Ushpizin? The great tzaddikim used to put chairs for them, Bechlal. They used to set a setting for them because they mamish believed they were there. Who would pass up a chance? Who would pass up a chance to be in the confines of the Shekhinah HaKadoshah and to be guarded and protected? And when you're surrounded by such Kedusha ladies, when you're sitting amid the wings of Hashem's love, when you find yourself surrounded by the light of truth and by Torah, suddenly all those contradictions and all those problems you thought you had, they seem to fade away against the backdrop of the holy walls. This is why Shelomoh HaMelech gathered everybody to read Megillat Kohelet and Sukkot, because it is a time of joy. It's the time when we realize that our entire existence on this planet is just temporary, like the walls of the Sukkah. But at the same time, we realize how much strength we've been given and how much faith, how much emunah is still left inside of us. So Shelomoh HaMelech makes us focus our attention on the questions of life, on the contradictions of life. Yes, think about them. Why? So that you should strive to try to find the solution to all those questions. And when you try to find the solutions, you're going to go where? To the Torah. And you're going to want to elevate yourself, and you're going to work hard at finding the answers, because you're going to realize, hey, I don't have that much time left on this world. This life is only temporary. It's only a temporary existence that I'm preparing myself for a permanent one. I better get moving. So instead of using the contradictions of life as a way to run away from our obligations in this world, like some people do, when things get too confusing, they run away from Hashem. Instead of using all those contradictions as an excuse to run away from your priorities in life, instead of using those contradictions to build walls that separate you from the truth, from Torah and from Hashem, and from your mission in this world, instead, you're going to strive to surround yourselves with Torah so that you could resolve some of those questions you have in life. Instead, you're going to use the emunah that's deeply rooted in you in order to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world with the deepest sense of bitachon. You're going to break down those walls of confusion and doubt that you created. Nobody created them for you. And instead, you're going to put up walls that reject any outside influence that will, chas v'shalom, put a damper on your aliyut, on your aliyah ruchanit. You're going to build walls that are going to keep you protected from the outside forces. And when you're sitting in a place where the walls that surround you are filled with Kedusha, when you're in the center of godliness and sanctity, you're going to be able to resolve all the contradictions of life. And by overcoming those questions and working hard at resolving the contradictions, you'll then have the zechut to experience the eternal existence that's going to be ours, because we're going to sit, Be'ezrat Hashem, very soon, in the glorious Sukkah that's made from the skin of the great Leviathan fish. And guess what? In that sukkah, all the tzaddikim of yesteryear are going to join us, like they did all these years when they were our guests in our sukkah. But this time, they're going to be resurrected. There's going to be Tchiyat HaMetim. So you're actually going to see them with your own eyes. You're going to experience them mamash. We're going to sit in that great sukkah surrounded by walls of rachamim, walls of understanding, and walls of ge'avah, of pride, with Mashiach Tzidkenu at the head of the table, giving us a big yishar koach for remaining strong and resilient in times of despair and in the face of contradiction. Stay strong, ladies. Don't give up. The walls of Kedusha are waiting to be built and to embrace you. Question?
You see people suffering very much in this world. They have extended illnesses and real suffering. And a lot of very good people experience that. Does that mean they're being purified here in this world to prepare for the next world?
There are a lot of answers that could be given for such a question. The one answer, there are many. The one answer I will give you is that Chachamim say that a lot of these neshamot, prior to them even coming down to this world, they get a glimpse of what their generation looks like. And based on the generation that they're going to be born into, they could choose to have a deficiency, because that deficiency will be a kapara for the generation. And they would rather suffer physically and they tell Hashem, let this be a kapara. I'm willing to live like this as long as you know it should be a zchut for Am Yisrael. That's one answer I could give you. Another answer has to do sometimes with gilgulim, things that maybe took place in a former gilgul and they're kind of paying it off in this gilgul. The Ari Kadosh certainly gave a lot of examples of why people suffer in this lifetime, which is a result of former gilgulim and things that they didn't take care of, and now they're taking care of it now. We don't know the exact answer. All these things, these are nistarot al Hashem, these are things that are hidden from us. We don't have access to that information, but those are the two answers I could basically give you. Number one, that a lot of these neshamot come down already, they're precluded already within their essence is the choice to live this way in order there should be a kapara for the Am. Now, you could say that's not fair, but it wasn't your choice, it was theirs.
So where's the free will?
That was the free will. You have the choice to come down this way or that way. How do you want to come down? Then you choose. That's the only thing that I can come up with that actually makes it, lifts them up, at least in our eyes, makes it understandable. But what I want to tell you about what we said before is actually there's a famous story, which I'm sure you may have heard, about a girl in the shtetl that was read to a rabbi's son that was far away, and they did not get a chance to see each other throughout the engagement. Now halacha says that a chatan must see the kala before the chuppah, otherwise there cannot be a wedding. So they figured on the day of the wedding they're going to meet. Now what was unbeknownst to the kala, the chatan had a serious blemish. His whole leg was deformed and he walked very badly, lo alenu. He was deformed. She took one look at this guy as he came off of the carriage with his whole family on the day of the wedding, and she ran upstairs. No wedding. I'm not getting married to this guy. I don't want a guy who's deformed like this and half his body was like paralyzed. Who wants to live with a guy like that? He wasn't so pleasant looking either. Half of his face didn't look so great. And she cried to her father. She says, I'm not marrying this guy no matter what you do. So the father told the boy, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but Kala says no. So he tells the father, he says, and this boy was such a tzaddik. I forgot the name of like whose son he was, a big rabbi, but anyway, he says to the father, would you give me a few minutes to speak with your daughter? Who?
Kedushat Yom Tov.
Kedushat Yom Tov. She says Kedushat Yom Tov. You know the story? Kedushat Yom Tov. She says, I don't want to take responsibility. You said it, Esther Clyde. Not me. Okay, Bekitzu. So he says, would you mind if I spoke to your daughter alone? He says, sure. Goes upstairs, knocks on the door. She sees him. And he says, I just want to explain to you why I am the way I am. And he takes it to a mirror and he says, look inside the mirror and tell me what you see. Pitom, a nes happened and the mirror started to, like a dream, and she sees herself up in the heavens, deformed, looking ugly, pretty much having the same deficiency as him, blemish. And he says, sir, do you see this? He says, 40 days before Neshama comes down to the world, Bat Kol Yotzet Umchazet, a Bat Kol announces in the heavens, Bat Ploni le Ploni, this one belongs to this one. And I saw what you looked like. And I knew that you would suffer your whole life because you're a woman. No woman wants to look like this or feel like this. So I took it upon myself and I asked the Ribono Shel Olam that your blemish should come on me, so you shouldn't have to suffer. And that's why I look the way I do, and you look beautiful. She married him after that. But what's the point? You see that he took upon himself this great and awful illness that he carried with him his whole life just to be able to spare someone else a little bit of pain and suffering. Yes, one more question.
You said in
Chaya! Yes.
other creation itself, darkness.
That
What
what?
about Koshek? Wasn't that a different creation?
No, we did. Hashem, that never talks about, it talks about Hashem creating Or, that we know, right? It says, Vayomer Hashem Yihi Or,
Yeah.
Vayhi Or. But nowhere does it say that Hashem said Yihi Choshech, Vayhi Choshech.
So what is the Makat Koshek? Where did that come from?
Makat Choshech was the absence of light, where Hashem literally removed, or we'll say, I don't know how it worked in the constellations, what exactly was done, but an absence of all light, where the luminaries, I guess, were paused for the time being.
יש לי שאלה, איך, how יום כיפור is between אדם בין אדם לחברו. So many people, let's say I make upset in my life, and I cannot see them. How I will do tshuva?
What do you mean you can't see them? You can't contact them?
Yeah.
Because you don't know where they are?
I live here, they live in different country in Israel, let's
So
say.
that's what I'm saying. Do you have no way of contacting them?
No.
At all?
No,
Not through friends, not through family?
no, very hard.
Okay, so I would do the following. I would make my hishtadlut anyway, like to contact one or two people in Israel that you think might know them. So you show the Ribono Shel Olam that at least you tried, you did some hishtadlut. And afterwards, if you see that nobody can contact them, there is a tefillah that we do say, Sfaradim say it, that Hashem, if I wasn't able to somehow get the mechila from this person, please Hashem know that I made my hishtadluyot, and not only that, you know the truth, you know I tried, plus whoever who couldn't contact me to ask me for mechila, I forgive them. It goes both ways.
It's not always possible to be mochel certain people. It's not possible.
Believe me, I know about that, and you have to. I've forgiven people that have done terrible things, and it was very difficult. And in the beginning, like my Rav and Rebbetzin was saying, we never told you should forget. You can't forget, but but you have to forgive. Because if you don't forgive, you're going to carry that pain with you forever and ever, and it's going to affect your life. But somehow when you forgive someone, it takes a little time, but eventually you free yourself. You free yourself. It doesn't affect you as badly as it did before. It's true, it takes time. It takes time.
It affected your life. Your life
True.
has changed. So it's
True, your life has changed.
being affected.
True, but you heard what we said before? Kol bidei shamayim.
It's a great feeling.
And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted this to happen, this was his ratzon. This is what he wanted for this time period. And unfortunately, this is what happened. So you have to show Hashem, look, Hashem, do I know your cheshbonot? I don't know. I just know that you want me to forgive. And I'm forgiving. It's very, very hard. I'm not saying it's not. It is. It is. It is. It is.
I want Hashem to forgive us. It's midah keneged midah.
It
But it's still very hard. It's still
Yes.
I mean, people are in therapy because of this.
True.
They're in therapy.
I don't
True.
think it's so hard.
It's
Well, we can't say that because we don't know what people go through. There are some people that go through tremendous, tremendous suffering al yadei other people, and it ruins their life, mamash.
We know it, the divorced ladies know it, excuse me. That's what I want to ask, so that I can speak so good. I want to ask.
But if
what
you
we
know
do
that
with your-
everything is from Hashem, that everything Hashem does is for you, we don't feel it.
So here, okay. So here's, okay, one second. So if you know everything is from Hashem, we know everything is from Hashem, but here's where the separation, the division of thinking lies. Between me knowing that Hashem it's His ratzon, and me also realizing that that person is the vehicle that Hashem used in order to create me pain, that's where the difficulty lies. Because I just see Him. I don't see Hashem in Him. Yeshava Chag, Sameach, Agmar Chatima Tova, and may this year be the year. I pray to Hashem that we shouldn't even have to go into our Sukkot. We should just go straight into the Sukkah in Yerushalayim, Habnuya, and have a party, Simchat Bet HaShoava for ladies only in Yerushalayim.
Shchini acharecho, acharecho, no varuto. Mo shchini acharecho, acharecho, no varuto. Mo shchini acharecho, acharecho, no varuto. Mo shchini acharecho, acharecho, no varuto. Israel.